Introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, your class, and your major.
I'm Giovanni Orr. I'm from Warren, Ohio. I'm in the class of 2024, and I am a chemical engineering major.
What are your goals after graduation, and what career would you like to pursue?
Uh, my goal is just to become a chemical engineer somewhere. Uh, don't really know where yet, but just to work as a chemical engineer.
In general, how do you think the COVID-19 pandemic has affected you?
Uh, it's affected me quite a bit, um, whether that be socially or academically. Just the isolation really took a toll on a lot of things. Kind of stunted my education a lot with motivation factors and stuff like that. And obviously, I didn't get to see anybody for like a year and a half, so that messed with my social growth as well.
What are your goals after graduation? What career would you like to pursue?
Uh, I'd like to pursue chemical engineering, be a chemical engineer somewhere.
Uh, Pandemic aside, how has campus life compared to your expectation of what college would be like?
Uh, I think it exceeded my expectations in some way. Like, independence plays a lot bigger of a factor in the way that I behave than I thought it would. I kind of feel like I have more freedom to do the things that I like. Um, I just expected it to be more similar to home.
How did you feel when you first learned that your high school was shutting down, and do you remember where you were and how you found out?
Uh, I was practicing tennis for the upcoming season, um, and I was really upset about it because obviously my season got canceled, and that's kind of why I was practicing. Um, but I had a feeling that we wouldn't be going back at all, and that's how I would graduate. So I was pretty bummed about it.
How did you respond to the online instruction in high school, and do you think that that's had an effect on your academic transition into college?
The online instruction in high school was little to none. There really wasn't much going on. People were still trying to figure it out, and then the classes that they did have on Zoom or whatever uh, were really unhelpful. It was hard to focus. It was so weird and different. I didn't really like it at all.
Would you say that you were a bit behind academically because there was such a little finish to your senior year?
Yeah, I think that uh, academically it was kind of hard to transition to college after that because, especially with the online instruction, my senior year felt a bit lackadaisical. In a sense, I really wasn't doing much, and so when I had to do actual coursework again, it was kind of overwhelming at first.
How did you respond to the social isolation of the pandemic? Do you think that this had an effect on your social transition into college?
Uh, yeah, like I said, I didn't see anybody for like a year or so, and then going onto campus and meeting a bunch of new people, it was kind of awkward at first. Um, Seeing people face to face for the first time in a while, and I think that kind of reminded me about how I took that for granted a little bit.
Weeks before the 2020 fall semester was set to begin, Ohio University announced that it would use a phased approach to return to campus. As part of that plan, the majority of students were not invited back to campus until the spring semester, with instruction mainly online. How did you feel when you received that news?
I was pretty upset about that. It was so close to move-in time that I had already bought my stuff, like my bedding and whatnot, my school supplies, and I was all excited to move, and I had all my plans arranged, and then it just felt like the rug was swept from underneath me. It was pretty upsetting.
How do you feel you responded to the online college curriculum? And how did that online curriculum compare to the high school online curriculum?
It was more strict than in high school, but motivation was still little to none there. I found it really hard to focus, especially once being in college classes lost its effect. I didn't really pay attention. I got what I needed and moved on.
All students were invited back to Athens for the spring semester of 2020. Did you accept that invitation, and what went into that decision?
Yeah, I accepted the invitation, and I just really wanted to be somewhere new. Been stuck in my home for like 6 months at that point, 8 months. I was just ready to get out of there, just find something new, you know, get to the stage of my life that I had been waiting for.
How was that experience, and how would you compare it to now?
It's worlds different. People are on campus walking around now. It's really lively compared to how it was last semester. I would see a couple people on my walk to like uptown from my dorm or something like that. And that's it. But now, in between classes, it's hard to not find yourself in a crowd, just in the daily shuffle.
So you think this is a little bit more of a real college experience?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Coming into this semester, what were your academic and social goals, and how is your progress going in terms of achieving them?
My academic and social goals. Well, my academic goals to start was just to do better than I did with online instructor last year, and I think I have been doing better. I feel more motivated on a day-to-day basis than I did before, and going to classes makes it a lot easier to pay attention than staring at a screen. But then socially, I just wanted to meet new people, and I think I've done that. So.
Do you feel left behind socially after spending the past year and a half learning online? Do you feel any added stress to catch up now that you're experiencing a real campus environment for the first time?
No, I don't think I feel left behind. I think that it happened and just got to move on with it. I think it may have stunted a little bit, but I don't feel any pressure to try to, overcompensate for the loss there.
As of now, do you feel truly part of a campus community? First of all, what does kind of a campus community, what does being a part of that look like to you? And how do you think the pandemic has contributed to that?
Yeah, I think that I would call myself part of a campus community. I think it's just like knowing that you're all doing the same stuff in some way or another, all going to classes, all struggling through midterm season. You can kind of see it on everybody's faces that we're all in this together for the most part. And how the pandemic affected that, it was kind of deprived of that my first year here. Like how I mentioned before, campus is alive again as compared to last semester, and then online before. It's so much more personal. Even to just pass people on your way from class to class, it just makes you feel more a community than ever.
Have you experienced any homesickness since you arrived on campus? And if so, what do you do to work through those feelings?
Yeah, I do feel a little bit of homesickness, but mainly I have the chance to go home often, and that helps a little bit. But in the times between, I just kind of connect with the people at home virtually and talk to them frequently, and it helps a bit.
How, if at all, did the COVID-19 pandemic impact your mental health? And how would you compare your mental health now versus at the height of the pandemic?
It was honestly pretty depressing at the height of the pandemic, not really seeing anybody, kind of stuck in some place. It really wasn't great for, I don't think, anybody's mental health to be like that, not be able to go to restaurants or whatever. And now I think it's worlds better. As I've been saying, you can walk around, see people, just feel kind of like a person again, rather than being stuck in your home.
Do you feel like your classification as a sophomore is truly indicative of your actual experience, both academically and socially?
Academically, I would say so, just because I've taken the classes and I know where I'm at. But socially, it's kind of weird. Especially at the beginning of this semester, trying to find how I fit and find my role on campus and how I interact with everybody. It was kind of weird finding my way to classes and buildings and planning out routes to get to class on times. And in that way, I kind of feel like a freshman because I haven't had to do that before.
How would you compare your academic, social, and professional experience to that of the upperclassmen that you've come in contact with? Do you fear that any gap will make it harder to pursue your desired career when you graduate?
To compare to upperclassmen, I think that it is a little bit different, especially like the juniors and seniors who were here before, here for a while before the pandemic happened, and now they're coming back, and so they kind of already know where things are and how things play out, and from that I can see a difference. But in terms of pursuing a career, I don't think I'll be any further behind than anybody else who experienced this normally.
When you look back on your college career, what will you view as a success? What do you want your legacy to be, and how do you feel the pandemic will add extra challenges to those goals?
I think a success will just be graduating, getting the degree that I want to get, and doing so in a healthy manner. I don't want to stress myself out too badly about it. And the way that pandemic affects that, it made it more challenging, but I think that that's kind of ceasing now that things are returning to normal.
How would you compare your college experience to those who didn't have to deal with the pandemic?
I would say it's a bit different. Starting online and then having hopes to go and then getting that taken away, and then just kind of stuck in this liminal space where you don't really know what's going to happen next. It was really stressful to start out with, and then learning how to deal with online instruction while the instructors are learning that too, and just kind of adapting made it a lot more challenging at the beginning, at least, than people who haven't had to experience this.
What have you learned about yourself and others from this past year and a half, and how will you use this knowledge to your advantage going forward?
What I've learned about myself and others is I think that we're a lot more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. This is an effect on a global scale, and I think that people have kind of shown through, for better or for worse, but I think that it shows no matter what happens, we'll get through it and live on again. And I think that anybody can take a message from that to just kind of see for better days.
What, from your perspective, what if any good has come out of your experience from the past year and a half?
I've done a lot of self-reflecting in that time, and about myself and about how I fit in the world, and then just thinking about how the world works. This has kind of exposed a lot about society as a whole. Not trying to get too broad scale of that, but it's exposed kind of the inner workings of a lot of things, and how I use that for me is just kind of take things with a grain of salt, I guess, and like I said, just look past it. Things will get better.
All right, that's all I got for you, Gio. Thank you very much for sitting
Nope.
down.
Yeah, no problem.